rainy Tuesday evening has a way of making the world feel smaller. Streets glisten, voices soften, and sometimes in those quiet hours when life seems to fold in on itself, one small act of kindness starts a story no one saw coming. It began with a broken-down car at the edge of town. The woman inside sat gripping the steering wheel, blinking away the sting of tears that refused to fall. She wasn't used to needing help. She wasn't used to being ignored when she did, but every passing car kept going. Every flash of headlights reminded her that tonight, she was just another stranger stranded in the rain. Then an old blue truck rolled to a stop. The driver stepped out carrying an umbrella that had definitely seen better days. He was tall, a little tired around the eyes, with the kind of easy warmth people only earn after walking through storms of their own. He knocked gently on her window and offered the kind of smile that feels like safety. "You okay? Looks like your engine's given up on you." "I'm Jake." She hesitated, not because she didn't trust him, but because trust was something she hadn't needed to extend in years. Her life had become a world of guarded penthouses and guarded emotions. Yet here, soaked by the rain and stripped of titles, she was simply alone. "I'm Ava," she finally said. "And no, I'm not okay." He didn't press. He didn't pity. He simply helped. He checked the engine, called a tow, offered a dry seat in his truck while they waited. When she shivered, he handed her his jacket without a word. It smelled faintly of coffee and engine oil and laundry detergent. Real life, ordinary life, a world that felt impossibly far from her own. Ava watched him as the minutes passed. Hands calloused, movements careful. Every so often he'd glance at his, phone with a softness that wasn't meant for her, then tuck it away with a look of quiet resolve. She would learn later that he was a single dad, that he worked 2 jobs and still packed school lunches shaped like stars, that he'd become mother and father in one human frame, even when the weight of it pressed into his bones. But that night all she saw was kindness. And sometimes kindness is enough to start a change. The tow finally arrived, and Jake refused to leave until he knew she'd get home safe. When she reached for her wallet, he just shook his head. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "World's hard enough. We help where we can." People had helped Ava before, but always with strings attached, always with expectation. This man walked away like her gratitude wasn't currency at all. He didn't know who she was, didn't know she owned skyscrapers, didn't know the world bowed when she entered a room. And for the first time in years, she realized she didn't want him to. The next day, Ava found herself standing outside a small cafe with fogged up windows and chipped paint, and there he was behind the counter, apron tied loosely around his waist, laughing with a little girl who looked like sunshine. Jake blinked in surprise. Then he smiled. "You found my other job," he said. She stayed for coffee, then for a second cup, then for the way the cafe felt like home despite the creaky chairs and mismatched mugs. She stayed because for once she wasn't a billionaire. She wasn't a headline. She was a woman learning what it meant to slow down. One visit became 2. 2 became routine. Soon she knew that the little girl loved dinosaurs and strawberry milkshakes, that Jake read bedtime stories in funny voices and burned toast almost every morning. That life had hit him hard, and still he met the world with gentleness. He never pried about her life, never asked what she did. He spoke to her like someone who mattered simply because she existed. And that was dangerous, because Ava had built walls tall enough to scrape the sky. She'd learned long ago that money could purchase loyalty, company admiration, but never sincerity. Yet here it was, sitting across from her, refilling her coffee with a quiet tenderness that asked for nothing in return. Then one evening the truth slipped out, not through boasting, not through accident, but through necessity. Jake's landlord had raised the rent. Repairs at the cafe were bleeding him dry. His daughter needed new school supplies. He never complained, but stress clung to him like a shadow. Ava wanted to help, instinctively, fiercely. But help for her always came wrapped in power, and she didn't want to change the way he looked at her, like she was just Ava, the woman who laughed too loudly when nervously embarrassed and always stole the last cookie, so she hesitated, until the day the cafe nearly closed. That night she sat across from him under flickering lights, heart pounding. "There's something I haven't told you," she said quietly. He listened. No judgment, no fear, and Ava told him. About the companies, the boardrooms, the headlines she pretended not to read. "I didn't want this to matter," she whispered. "I didn't want to become someone else in your eyes." Jake was silent for a long time. Then he breathed out slowly. "I don't care how many zeros are in your bank account," he said. "I care about the woman who sits here every day and remembers how my daughter likes her cocoa, the one who laughs at my terrible jokes, the one who gets quiet when she's lonely. That's the person I know." Her heart didn't just melt, it unraveled, every guarded knot loosening at once. But falling in love is never neat. There were doubts, whispers, people on the outside who saw nothing but imbalance. Some thought he was chasing security. Others thought she was chasing novelty. Only they knew the truth. Love had found them in the quiet spaces, in the moments without witnesses, packing lunches, closing the cafe together at midnight, sitting on the floor with takeout containers and messy laughter, listening when the day had been heavy, choosing each other over and over again, not because they needed to, but because life simply felt more like